We Salute is a podcast produced by the Open Source. It tells the stories of the military veterans living in our community. I'm your host, Sharon Stevens, and today I want to introduce you to the Executive Director of the Focus for Marines Foundation. They're doing some good work. Back in a minute.
March 26, 2010 was the day everything changed for Marine Corporal Todd Nicely. That day, Nicely was leading 12 infantry troops on a mission against the Taliban. This is We Salute by the Open Source, a podcast about the St. Louis region's military veterans. More than 200,000 of these incredible people live in our community. I'm your host, Dick Hewlett.
When I went to go cross that bridge on March 26th, I stepped on that bomb and took all 4 of my limbs.
What a powerful share. I think that's really kind of what it's all about, is sharing what happens and what life experiences are, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of them. We get them every day.
Well, I'll wind this up. Corporal Nicely, thank you for telling your story. We salute you for your service. And thanks for listening. You can find more shows like this one at wesalutevets.com.
Jennifer Jefferson served in the Marines from 1993 to 1997. Today, she's the Executive Director, Vice President of the Focus Marines Foundation. Jennifer, welcome to the Open Source TV. Why the Marines? Why did you join the Marines?
I think, I really didn't have a whole lot of direction, and I really think because it was the most difficult, I needed to prove something to myself and something to my dad, who had served in the Army my whole life. So it just was a way for me to go out on my own, and they really promised this idea of family and brotherhood, and I just love the idea of being a Marine the rest of my life.
And see the world.
See the world was part of it, but yeah, for sure, it was something that I desperately was. Once I saw it, I was like, that's it, I will be a Marine. So,
okay. Yeah. Now, how did you come to found this organization or to lead this organization?
Sure.
Focus.
So my husband actually is a Marine as well. He served back at the time that I served and he got out in '96, but he had started teaching an entrepreneur class and they had asked him to come do it. And I had not yet heard of Focus Marines Foundation. It was they just really didn't do a whole lot of advertising. So when he came to speak at it, he just said, Jennifer, this is amazing. You have got to check this out. And since then, I've been at 40 sessions. So I was hooked and I fell in love and I found my passion and my purpose, and I organically grew into the position that I'm at now. I started as a volunteer and just slowly started building up a lot of responsibilities, and then started working there part-time, then full-time, and then new position, and then the executive director position.
So what do you do for, let's say I'm a Marine and I'm looking for some people to, get to know who are also Marines, and, I'm out of the active service. Why would I be interested in your group?
So we actually are a life-transforming program that brings you back to reconnect you with that Marine that maybe after you've got out of the military, you've kind of lost a little bit. You're still trying to figure out your way, trying to find out what it is that you want to do with your life. Maybe there's a glass ceiling and you're not sure what that is. Focus allows you the space and also the tools on how to break that glass ceiling, give you the space to find the purpose, reunite you with a group of Marines that are there to support you and will support you moving forward throughout whatever choices and goals you have. You always have that support system.
And how do you do that?
So most of our referrals actually are coming from other graduates. So about 70% of almost every session we have, it's referrals from other graduates. And so it's word of mouth now. We do have organizations that refer to us, which is amazing, like Semper Fi and America's Fund. We also have the Wounded Warrior Battalion. They do refer to us as well. But for the most part, it is Focus graduates that are referring their friends that they see struggling to our organization.
Okay, so I come to a meeting. Am I going to get some tips on how to find a job, or just exactly what?
So what we do is we hire facilitators that come in. It's a 7-day program, and you're there a Saturday to a Saturday. We take care of all of the travel arrangements and all the housing and transportation and such. So when you get there, we kind of give you the space to go back and figure out who you are and why you think the way you think. Because as all humans, we're born with a blank slate, but our upbringing, all of those things kind of chisel out who it is that we become and why. And so we give you the space to go back and say, who am I? Is it working for me? Is it serving me? Am I living my best life? And if it's not, there's some tools on how to move forward and make some changes in your life. And then once that part is done, that's like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday and Friday are what's next. There's employment opportunity speeches, there's some entrepreneur talks, there's some, career counseling on trying to find the job that best suits you and your behavior traits. You'll have job satisfaction. So maybe you're not trying to be a square peg in a round hole, but just something that will give you some satisfaction so your work-life home balance can be better. Or even if they don't have any hobbies, giving them the idea that hobbies are important too, to get you into starting to live and bring hopefully these guys back into the community, because they're amazing leaders, and our community and our nation is starving for this type of leadership in our world. So I think that even just giving them the space to figure all of this out, 7 days, and kind of quiet the noise outside of the farm, because we're on a peaceful, natural farm, just gives them some time, some opportunity to really think and really, really focus on what they want.
So it's just the 7 days. It's not like you're going to come back again and do something similar a month later.
Correct. For the individual coming through our program, it is the 7 days on site, but we actually have support throughout. Like, as long as they want to participate in it, they are welcome to. We do 2 Zoom sessions a month, sometimes 3, which allows all graduates from all sessions to come back, reconnect with each other, as well as get the information again that they learned at Focus in a much slower fashion, or build upon that information into new topics of creating a vision for your life. Just topics like that. Just, gratitude and how important that is to, living a healthy life. So that is ongoing support that we offer our graduates as well.
So that's for the Marines. Would this work for, sailors?
Yes, sailors, Army, Air Force, we've had all of it. I think the only thing we haven't had is Space Force yet, and Coast Guard, but it's not that we wouldn't invite them. They are welcome to come. We do open our doors to all branches. There is such a need out there that we don't want any empty seats. So if there's seats to be filled, we will fill it with anybody that is needing of our services, primarily post 9/11. So that's our focus, because we're a non-therapeutic peer support, so we need to kind of stay in that peer range, and that's about where our peer range is the post 9/11 era.
Okay. I was going to ask, is there a need in terms of, are people having problems, or did you notice an uptick in something?
There are people having problems out there. They're still struggling with whether it's related to their combat tours, some traumatic childhood event that happened prior to that, or a traumatic event that happened later than that. We can work with all of that as long as they know what it is that they're looking for. Or maybe we've had people say, oh my gosh, this is the first time I've ever spoken about this, because they didn't realize it was an issue, and it is an issue, and that is their glass ceiling, the biggest thing that they're struggling with. And so we give them the space to work through that. We're not just focused on combat. We want them to really leave their understanding what it is and what it will take to create this vision of their life and live whatever their best life means for them. We want them to have that opportunity.
So they're coming to you saying, I'm lost and I need help.
Correct. Or I'm just stumbling and I don't know why. So my relationships are crumbling. I can't keep a job. I can't work with civilians. All of those things are things that we've heard of. Or they're suicidal. It could be their last ditch effort to say, if this doesn't work, this is it. I have no more options, and I have a plan. So we try to get them reconnected and maybe not have that as their solution to whatever their issues are, because that's absolutely the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
So
this sounds like you need a number of professionals helping out too, particularly if people are having those kinds of thoughts.
Right.
So your team, or whatever you call it, those of you who are managing the foundation, do you have like doctors and teachers and lawyers and
So a lot of our volunteer base are coming from all over the community as far as like what they worked at, what their skills are. But really, we know when we need to be referring people to go to get that medical help, because we are peers, and so we're trying to make sure that we're there for them and they're not alone. But if it is above our head, we absolutely refer them to the professionals that should help them. Go to an emergency room, go to your VA, here's somebody. We don't just stop at that, so we won't leave them, and we'll do wellness checks all over the country to make sure that they're not in a bad situation.
How about the people who come to talk to you, men and women?
Yes.
And what's the balance? Is it 60-40 or 50-50?
No, it's pretty low women. I would think whatever the percentage is in the Marine Corps, it's probably pretty close to that. Like this next session I have that I'm getting ready for, we actually have no women that have applied to come to this session, but we've had as many as 5 women in our sessions. So it is dependent on where they're at, and I think women tend to put everybody in front of them, and so they'll back out last minute for issues with their children, their relationships, their job, and so they are harder to get into the sessions in my experience than men. But I think the percentage of men to women at Focus is very relevant to men to women in the military. It's a small percentage.
Was this program around before you joined it? I mean, is this something that you would have gone to?
It is not. I did not deploy. I served back in a time there wasn't anything really going on as far as my time in service, so I wouldn't have come through as a participant. But it did start back in 2010. Okay. So that's when we had the founders of the organization. Their children were starting to come back from Afghanistan and Iraq, and they were starting to see there were some problems, and they wanted them better treated and better served than they were as Vietnam era veterans. So they saw a need, and they just came up with a solution, and it has evolved, and it evolves every session. We always are trying to learn and grow and make sure that we're offering what is needed out there for these guys and girls.
Okay. Have you had families come through? I mean, like maybe a dad and a son who needed the services? And
so we have had a lot of sons or dads come through, and they've said, yes, I need my child to come do this, or I need my dad to come do this, but that's been very recent, and so we haven't actually had them come. But we've had people as old as 65 and as young as 22, so the age range is pretty broad, and private all the way up to colonels. So we've had all ranks, all ages, all branches. So yeah, it's pretty eclectic as far as the group of folks that come to our program.
And what does that tell you?
It tells me that the needs are just so big. Like they're so multifaceted. It's not to just one demographic. There are a lot of people struggling after their time in service, and some of it's just loss of purpose, and they don't know where to point their compass. But all the other issues they're out there. They're struggling with loneliness, addictions. They're struggling with relationships issues, isolation, and so those are the things that we can help support with.
Mm-hmm. How are you funded?
We are privately funded. We are a 501c3. We don't take any government funding. We work through private donations only, okay. And grants. We also apply for grants.
What do you think? What do you see on the horizon for the next year or so? What are people going to need? Is there something different? Is there something more?
So what I have seen is that as we continue to grow, the need for the support on the other side continues to grow. And so we offer those support services after Focus indefinitely, and we keep growing that side of our program to make sure that we're offering the content, the availability, the classes available, and then just to keep doing our program. And we do it 4 times a year, and just keep pushing forward and allowing the space for them to come do some healing.
Okay. And how do people get in touch with you?
Through our website, or they can call me directly. I give my number out to everybody that has a need, but through our website primarily. Our application is on our main page. They apply there. I'm the one that gets the application, and I try to call within 24 hours, and then we start the process, getting them into a session from there.
Okay. And how many areas do you cover? I mean, it's not just one state.
No, we're nationwide. So our program here is local, but our in St. Louis area, but our graduates are from all over the country.
How many graduates have there been?
Over 1,000. We're at about 1,071 right now. So it's it's been pretty successful. So
What's your goal?
Oh, my goal is to just keep offering this program and to keep potentially maybe even growing it, to offer it more, to make sure that we'd have nobody that's feeling lost and alone and isolated out there after they serve our country, regardless of their deployment status. But that's my goal.
Thank you very much. I very appreciate you
Of
coming
course.
by.
Thank you for having me.
There are more than 250,000 military veterans living in our community, and at the Open Source, we salute them. Find the podcast at wesalutevets.com. Thanks to Jennifer, and thank you for your time. I'm Sharon Stevens.